Oh yeah, overdraft fees. I don't have enough money, so then you charge me more money when I'm already, it's like
Well, this happened to me a few times while you were growing up.
yeah,
It'd be one of those cases where, all right, and this is something that broke people do. And if you've ever been broke, you know how you know this story that I'm about to tell, right? It's you sit there and you go, okay, I've got these bills that are due over the next week, right? So
right,
you sit there and you go, all right, I'll write my checks out. And this was back before computers and that, when I still wrote checks to everything. And I would write all the checks out and I would mail them hoping that I would get paid like by next Friday, next payday. I the would come in before those checks got to, or before the check got to the place that I owed the money to, and they opened the envelope and then sent the check back to the bank.
yeah,
That it would be there would be enough delay in the mail so that that check wouldn't arrive at the bank until after I got paid again.
right.
And I would come home one day and I would open up the mailbox and there would be like three letters from the bank, which meant that three checks had bounced. And that meant that not only was I paying the bank fees for those three checks, but the three people that I sent the checks to, they were all charging me fees,
No, wow.
right?
Yeah,
So maybe I just sent, let's just say that they I was making $100 payment on three credit cards. So I just sent out checks for $300, which was already putting me at barely, enough money to get through to the following week. And then I come home and it's an $18 charge for each overdraft from the bank. And then there's like a $25 late fee and fee from the credit card company. So that $300 that I just sent out just cost me like 450
right. Yeah.
or 400 or whatever it is. But and that's something that happens to people on those bottom rungs of the ladder all the time. Now
Well,
I don't know how it is today
yeah, here's a
because
modern example, and I think they might have changed it, but it's basically the same thing. But one time, I used my debit card. I don't know, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was around $75 in my account. I had something out there for like $80. And then I had two things that were like one was like 20 and the other one was actually really low. I think it was Jamba Juice. It was like $7 or $8 for Jamba Juice. And the way they put the transactions through was they did the biggest one first, which put my account negative, and then they did the other two afterwards. Even though the transactions didn't, they all kind of hit on the same day, so like you didn't have to do it that way, right? And but long story short, instead of getting one overdraft fee because I had enough for two of them, but not the third, you just gave me. I ended up with three $35 overdraft fees.
well, yeah, and there like the number of variations on that theme can go on forever. While you were talking, there was like another story hit my head, and then by the time you finished your story, it was gone. So, but I just like there were so many examples of things like that. One of them was the one where um, the what the banks, I don't know if they still do this. It sounds like they do. But if you have a direct deposit going into your account on, say, Thursday,
Yeah,
and you still are one of those people that wrote checks.
right.
So
Yeah,
they come in. if if the checks come in, if they have the checks on the table in front of them on one hand and the deposit on the table in front of them in front of their other hand, they will process the checks first and then they'll put the deposit in. So
no,
they get to charge you for the overdraft, even though they know that you have enough money because the deposit's sitting there. That's happened to me a couple of times.
no.
So, like I said, Mark, on that particular thing, as far as like the costs of dealing with banks and creditors, and the additional costs when you can't make your payments or you're late by a couple of days, yeah,
Yeah,
Because when you start hitting um, $35 late fees plus the interest rates on credit cards now are just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
If you're a big bank, you can go to the government and borrow a couple $100 million at like, I don't know, 1.5% interest. And then you can turn around and lend that money out as a creditor at like 35%.